Good afternoon. I'm Mrs. Padmashree Balaram. I am from Bangalore. My journey in waste management started in the year 2009. It was actually a kind of a personal reason that I started. It was my daughter who started having a lot of wheezing and other things, and no doctor's medications were helping. So it was at that time that one of the senior residents in the block mentioned that there is a lot of smoke in the air towards the evening. Maybe that is what is causing this wheezing. So I decided to step out and look and find out why the smoke is coming. I found that there were a heap of leaves that the people around it had set a fire to. And in that fire were lots of plastic packets of kurkure and other things. I asked them why they are doing this, and I could see a cocktail of toxic gases coming out of that burning leaves. At that point, I asked them if they should douse the fire immediately, and they did douse it immediately, and that is what made me extremely happy that they had seen the reason and I had explained to them scientifically what is happening. And that gave me a little sense of victory. So that is how it started. Then I found that there were garbage spots near my house. These black spots had actually become the landmark for my house. That was something that didn't sit well with me. I was embarrassed that I lived very so close to black spots and I wasn't doing anything. A black spot is just a large dump of mixed waste, generally which we see around corners of every street. So I stood at the corner of one of those black spots one day, and as the waste auto passed by, I just stopped him and I said, "Can you please take all these waste into your auto?" He did it, and he took all the auto in the waste, and that whole corner was looking very clean. And at that point, I thought, oh, wow, I have solved the garbage crisis in Bangalore city. It is just so simple. The next morning, there was just again that much of waste on that same spot. And I was wondering, oh, what happened? I mean, why has it come back? And as I went walking, I found that the auto which had picked up the waste the previous day had thrown that waste in the next corner. So I realized that I was lost. I was wondering what's happening. So then I happened to meet a few people around who were real visionaries, who were passionate about waste management. So I spoke to them and I said, "So what's happening?" They said, "No, no, no, that is called as a band-aid treatment. What you need to do is find the genesis of this black spot. You have to study that. And what you need to do is change mindsets, which is a way more complicated and difficult step." So the ladies who spoke to me were not people who had any authority or were not having any titles. They were just people who believed in their own passion and in the fact that they can make a difference. So I kind of felt, and I just took the same energy from them, and I felt like I should empower myself slowly and try to bring in the same changes within my area. Quickly, we set up about 6 or 7 of us volunteers. We decided we will start this whole idea of segregation of waste at home, a three-way segregation. We had pamphlets, we had videos, we had all kinds of material with us to go and explain door to door, door to door. Some people were very welcoming of us. Some people asked us to get out, just shoot us out and said, "No, it's you don't bother about us. We are fine," and other things. After, along with the same thing, as we were doing all this, there was another parallel movement that we were also involved in, was the plastic ban, banning the single-use plastic, because we found that a single-use plastic is one of the main reasons why waste is not getting segregated. People were putting everything in one bag and just throwing it away. So we thought that we should do things parallelly, and we pushed the government. We pushed the government to pass this, and Karnataka government became the first government to ban single-use plastic. So that was a big advantage for us, where we were able to bring in the plastic ban. I'm not saying the plastic ban was enforced a lot, but what it gave us was a tool to talk to people. So it's very few people will actually use something when we tell them it is banned by the government. Chances are they will not try to go against that. So that kind of helped. Segregation also became a SWM bylaw. So we started going house to house, and it was a very thorough, systematic, door-to-door kind of awareness program. After a while, we realized that this sweet kind of talking is not helping. So slowly we replaced awareness, smooth talking awareness, with a little bit of danda mar, which means that we got BBMP, the municipality, to come and find them. And I took the liberty of opening a plastic bag and then spreading it in front of their house, whoever did not segregate. I have seen huge reactions. People come flying at me in rage, saying, how can you do this? How can you put waste around our house? Then I say, how could you give us waste which is not segregated? You are going against the law, not me. So I found that to be extremely powerful, and they never ever offended again. So while fines, some places where sweet talk, fines and all were not working, this surely worked. So after we got around to doing all these nice campaigns around plastic waste and single-use plastic and food segregation and all that, we very soon realized we were getting almost 10 to 12 tons of clean segregated waste. What do you do with that? And clean segregated waste is simply going into a compactor and just going somewhere, which is uh, unconscionable. I mean, how can you have such a good resource just leave somewhere and go somewhere and be thrown somewhere? So at that time, again, we as a set of volunteers felt that we should start processing our waste in our own backyard. So there was a myth, there is a myth, or there is a very strong feeling amongst people that which says NIMBY. NIMBY means not in my backyard. So that was something we wanted to shatter and saying yes in my backyard. So that is how we thought of coming up with various waste processing within that 2-acre land parcel that was given to us by the government, because there was a high tension wire running over it. So they allowed us to do solid waste management under that high tension wire. So once we started segregating waste, what we found that we were getting a lot of good dry waste, we were getting a lot of other good thermocol waste, and other wastes were also available now. So then slowly we developed a very large dry waste collection center, and we developed an aggregation center for mattresses and thermocol alone. And this biogas plant that we wanted to put up, you could ask me, why biogas? Why not composting? Well, we were in the middle of a lot of office areas. So having a composting center there would have meant some smell and flies and mosquitoes, which could eventually, put a halt to our processing, which we did not want at all. So we went in for an anaerobic form of processing, which is biogas. So we found a vendor, a smart young entrepreneur who was into biogas manufacturing. We invited him one day for a chat, and we showed him the place that we want to do it. And he looked at the 4 or 5 of us and said, I mean, are these women even serious? They look like housewives with children. Are they going to really get this done for us? It is such a big thing at a municipal level. So I kind of sensed that, and I told him, you know what, you just give your proposal, leave the rest to us. So he did draft a proposal, went to the local MLA and said, sir, we want to do this in your constituency. Would you let us? He said, go ahead, get your proposal accepted by the municipality. It got accepted by the municipality, approved by the municipality. But our commitment as a community to this biogas plant was a very tough one. Our commitment was that every single day, we will give you 5 tons of clean waste, clean segregated waste every single day. And the other commitment was that we will make sure your municipality gives you all your capex, which they had said that they will give you. So we all did several rounds of Vidhan Sauda and other places so as that he gets his capex, which he got. And he is continuing to get his 5 tons even today. And I shall tell you that in a bit. So what happened actually was I studied in the meanwhile why biogas plants were failing across Bangalore. The reason they were failing simply was because they were dependent for O&M, that is operations and management from the municipality. That is a sure shot formula for failure. Because when you get an O&M, you are not so keen on doing things yourself. You're very happy you're getting the monthly feed out from there. And that O&M hardly comes on time, so you can't pay salaries, you can't pay your electricity bills, and there's just so many problems with an O&M. And ultimately, the plants shut down. So the deal that we had with our vendor, and he also agreed, and fortunately, we were all very like-minded. Let us make it a self-sustaining business. So in our waste processing center in Koramangala, which is the area we work in, every unit inside our waste processing plant is self-sustaining. There is no O&M at all coming from BBMP to us. So the biogas plant started its operations and started producing biogas, and the nearest restaurant started taking all the gas. He was very happy. He was getting it at 20% less than LPG. He was replacing a fossil fuel with a renewable energy. And there's so many, it doesn't have to travel. It is just coming across a pipe. He doesn't have to store cylinders in his restaurant. So it was an absolute win-win. So we had the biogas plant doing wet waste. We had a dry waste collection center doing dry waste. And we had the aggregation center taking care of other dry waste. This, I would say, is a collaboration. Any movement of self-powered volunteers by themselves may work, but what we need to do is how do we form effective collaborations with the municipality, with the government, with the vendors. So when we were able to create this successful collaboration, we empowered ourselves enough. We were not given a title or any authority. We just took it upon ourselves, created these multi-stakeholder collaborations. And what we created, for which we got an award from the Ministry of Environment and Forests at Germany. They invited us to Germany, and we were given the award by the minister herself. So that was a big moment in our collaboration. It gave us more and more and more impetus to do better. And the fact that we could all work together and not adversarially. We never told the municipality that we know better, you know less, or you're not doing a good job. We said, we will help you to do a good job. We will work with you. I think that's a very important part of a collaboration where everyone brings something to the table, and there's a very positive vibe between all the collaborators. Once we started doing 5 tons, we got more funding, and we have now made it 8 tons. And with this, we have gone to a bigger restaurant now. And I'm so happy to inform all of you that we are now saving 3,000 tons of carbon dioxide emissions per year. I think that's something that, of course, we never set out to do that. Every goal of what I did was created at the end of the journey. It was just the journey, and then there was a nice destination, then there was a new destination. So it was like we were laying the path and then we were walking on it. So it has been a very tough, but a very engaging and fruitful journey, I must say, as an empowered citizenry. Then there was this, at the same time, a lot of things happening parallelly. We have a very old and a very big market here in Koramangala itself. And what happened there was very, very bad waste management was happening. Every street was full of vegetables and fruits strewn all around, cows all around. And this Madiwala market that I'm talking about was on a road which connected 2 IT parks. So there were a lot of VIP movement and a lot of powers to be used to travel, but everyone used to either look the other way or close their nose or do both. And so it was at that point where I was feeling a little confident that I could probably manage waste. So I went in. I tried to see what was happening in the market. I was confused. I didn't know what was happening. But what I'm sure there are others in today's talk who would agree with me that when you're working for Mother Earth, she starts helping you back. She brings you in contact with people who will help you in your journey. So that is what happened to me at Madiwala when I was trying to find a solution for Madiwala market. I met this very, very committed, very young girl who was so passionate about fixing the market that we, with our complementary skills, put in a real good plan in place. The plan was very simple. The intervention was very simple, but the impact was huge. The market waste management itself will take me an hour to explain. So today I'll just keep it short. So this impact was so high. By that I mean, we were diverting 6,000 kgs of waste every day away from the landfill. All that would be loaded into a compactor and gone to a landfill. So what did we do after we diverted it? What we did was we earmarked goshalas, piggeries, and community kitchens. So we sent all these food waste that is, I would not like to call it waste. It's a very rich resource. So the waste was sent to these places, and the cows and the pigs and the community kitchens started benefiting from this resource, which they could just come and pick up for free. They didn't have to buy fodder at all. So that was Madiwala market. So while I was doing all this, I became a partner at SVP, which is Social Venture Partners, a philanthropic foundation. So in SVP, there were partners who were great supporters of whatever I was doing. And they really appreciated what I was doing and started giving me so much encouragement and said, listen, you are within this small area. You're doing things in a ward. Your decentralized waste management in the ward is great, but why don't you just scale it up and move on, move out a little bit? So that is when we developed another collaboration with other with other stakeholders, created another huge collaborative effort. We picked Yelahanka zone as the place where we would use all these best practices and put it in place in Yelahanka zone, which has 11 wards. So basically, we will be doing whatever I did in Koramangala times 11 in Yelahanka. And we called that initiative as Swachha Belaku, which means which meant we are going to do a 7-star zone based on Swachh Bharat Mission guidelines. And that will help us to create the only, probably after Indore, the only place which will have a 7-star. But one of the main reasons why we picked Yelahanka vis-a-vis some other zone was the strong volunteer base that we have in Yelahanka. I knew already, having worked here, how important it is to have connections with the municipality, with the local political leadership and other members of your community. Similarly, they bring the same value to me, to this project from Yelahanka. So that has really helped, and we are on the way to becoming, to achieving some level of success, although we have some way to go. But what I'm trying to tell you is that in all of this, it is very, very important that you empower yourself and not wait for someone to say, can you do it? Will you do it? I will give you a certificate. Will you do it? So it's not that. You feel strongly about an issue, you just pick up and you start moving. And I think that is what is going to, and we have a powerful community. So I just wish that more of us would do the same and create every ward as a self-processing, decentralized waste management ward. And if you don't find anybody, go like they say in Bengali, tobe ekla chalo re. So there's no harm in doing it yourself. Find a way, find a cause. The causes are all around you. Whatever that interests you, empower yourself and go for it. Thank you so much. Thank you for having me this afternoon.